Hello, and welcome to another Nagging Panda Partner interview. Today, we speak to the wonderful Michelle Janse van Rensburg from Nimacc Business Lounge. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Elan. Way overdue, right?
Way overdue. It's amazing how long it takes to get things together in business. People have busy lives and busy schedules and lots of things going on, but we're finally here. So welcome.
Thanks.
So I asked you just before we'd started this, what does Nimacc actually start for and what does it stand for? Sorry, and there sounds like a story behind it. So let's start there. So tell us the name, where it came from, and how you got here.
So it's not very original. It actually stands for Nimbus Accounting. And the name came from around the braai with a couple of gins,
Yeah.
because once upon a time, Nimacc was actually an accounting firm.
Okay. And now, so you've obviously transitioned and you're predominantly involved in the tech and the tech stacking and what people are involved in.
Yes, I made the choice to transition to the light and move away from the accounting world. So about 3 years ago, I sold off my accounting book and carried on with the tech space and the zero implementation side of things.
Okay. And when you were in accounting business and you had the book, did you have a large customer base or a lot of experience with the accounting side of things? Like you're saying, you've moved to the light. I don't know if I want to dive in there right now. Too many accountants will be watching this, but you've obviously had a lot of experience in the accounting side.
Yeah, so look, I am actually a registered professional accountant with cyber. I think the client base grew a lot quicker than what I expected at the time. But
Yes.
to be honest, I don't think I was very good at it.
Okay.
I love to build relationships and I love to help business owners and things in terms of growing their business, because I've always said before, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 10. But
Yes.
when it comes to actually like sitting on your ass and submitting a VAT return, that doesn't exactly bring me joy.
Okay. So the passion's not there for you in that space. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Luckily,
No.
it's a big world, and from that perspective, there's lots of people that you want to tackle the one side of it, other people want to tackle the other, and that's what brings us all together. And I suppose the purpose of the business lounge. So, tell us what you're currently doing. Then I know you to be very entrepreneurial, and you've got a great mind. So, what's Nimacc up to now?
So look, I think it changes every other month or every other week with sort of where we're headed. But I also think it's because we're in the tech space, right? And I mean, the tech space changes so quickly. You've got to be agile. You've got to be
Sure,
thinking on your feet. But if you have a look at our website as well, what we do is we basically say we focus on digital transformation. So we
sure,
specialize in a couple of apps, and we've got a couple of favorites, of which Nagging Panda is obviously right up there.
and we appreciate that.
So we've got a couple of favorites that we specialize in implementing, but we actually come in and do a full digital transformation, from relooking at your standard operating procedures to implementing off-the-shelf software, and then where needed, we actually do build some custom tech.
Okay. And now your tech range. So I mean, does this so you can walk into almost any type of business and help them move into that cloud type of environment, and you'll help them from CRM all the way through to accounting and all the things in between.
Yes, so we plug and play on that basis.
Okay. And the stuff that you touch on, because I'm a massive fan, obviously, of tech and tech stacks, and I speak to people fairly often about how the tech stack is becoming the new rent. So instead of working from an office and paying rent, now you pay a tech stack. Do you have any? You've obviously got the stuff that you work with, but any stuff that's kind of really shining out there for you at the moment? For us, as a business, we recently moved into a HubSpot environment, and it's just a new world.
Yeah, so we're also huge HubSpot fans, but I think the ultimate value in the tech sits of combining the applications.
Yes.
There's not necessarily, for me, it's difficult to say like this one application is bringing us a lot of value, because the ultimate value in automations and efficiencies actually sit in the combination of the applications. So we use HubSpot. We also use Zero. We are massive fans of Zero Practice Manager, Workflow Max,
Yep.
and Practice Ignition as well. And then we've obviously, as we do, we've written some custom integrations, and we've written our own application that gives us our dashboards of where we are. So we kind of keep playing with our own applications as well.
Okay. And a great question for you then, I suppose, is people and adoption. Um, I speak about it quite often in the different territories of the world, and I'm not sure if you deal with customers in different territories of the world, but how do you find the adoption locally of technology? It's one of the things that I'd love to champion and to push to encourage people in South Africa to adopt more technology and to be, what's the right word, more accepting and more inviting of the automation. It's not there to replace you; it's there to help you.
Look, I think we're fortunate that by the time clients contact us, they're already keen for it. They
Okay.
don't contact us unless they're keen for it. But we have found that, in the past, especially when Nimacc started, 5 to 6 years ago, we spent a lot of time doing freebies, building proof of concepts, trying to
Yes.
convince people that this is the route that you should be going. Where now, I don't know if it's just because you get to a point where you're like, no more free work, or whether it's just a case where I'm just going like, listen, if you don't know this is what you want, like, I'm not going to spend time building a proof of concept or time on free services to try and convince you that this is what you want. I
Right.
think for me, the main thing that we do see though, and this is not just in South Africa, I think this is across the globe, is that people think they've now implemented a zero and they go, we technology driven. And
Yes.
I'm going, actually not. If you're still printing that document, if you're still manually sending your invoices and not adopting to something like Nagging Panda, are you really then tech driven?
Right.
just because just because your bookkeeping's on zero and your accountant is cool and has a cool brand and is walking around in sneakers, that doesn't necessarily make you a tech driven company.
Sure. Well, I like that the accountants walk around in sneakers. I think they're cool. I actually, when we were at the ZeroCon conference and we saw how the vibe was, we were blown away by what we had in our minds and what actually was going on in the market. And it was a great thing to see because Bryce and myself, when we were there, we saw you obviously and a whole bunch of the other people in the market, but we originally just assumed it was people walking around in suits and ties and discussing journal entries, and it was exactly the opposite. We were blown away. But the the interesting thing about what you're doing and what your business does and where you're going is the adoption of technology and the integration of all of them means that you're a fan of multiple technologies, not just your own. Um, and the route forward on something like that is quite inspiring because it means that often people get quite protective of what they use or what they like. You're obviously from a different space where you've found things that you found that you like and things that work together and plug well together with an open mind and the ability to shape it to fit the right business. Is that a correct assumption?
100%. And I've got no, like, I don't worry to chuck something out.
Right.
If it doesn't
Uh,
work or there's something cooler or better, just chuck it out and move on. Because what I always say to the clients as well is remember, micro equals macro. And people
yes.
that have heard me speak before know that's something I often come back to is the whole micro equals macro thing. So if we take Nagging Panda as an example, and people are going to start thinking that you've paid me to sell you on this
I haven't,
course.
but I'm glad you're a fan.
But if we take Nagging Panda as an example, if you pay that small fee that's related to it, it immediately means that half an hour or hour that you spending constantly sending those invoice reminders out, and with the different notifications and the SMSs, and that everything else that Nagging Panda brings along, making it more than just an accounting software reminder, that's time that you can spend doing something else. It's time that you
Yes.
can spend, as we spoke earlier, walking around the block, creating mental capacity, focusing on billable work, thinking more strategically. But what we find is often people battle to adopt that tech because they go, that extra couple of $100, I might as well do it myself. And
Yes.
you would think people have moved past that, but they
Sure.
really haven't. You still find those people in this tech space that still come across as that bit of like a penny wise, pound foolish scenario.
Yes, and something actually you're hitting a great note with us because currently, obviously for a business like Nagging Panda, and I'm sure like most of the other SaaS products out there, lead generation is a massive part of what we do every single day, and in generating leads through email campaigns and all those types of things, and actually getting to touch the end user. A lot of the responses that we get from businesses are to say, you know what, we're too small for this right now. And my question is to small business and for you, I'd love to know a small business who says, I'm too small for this, surely they could still use automation, whether it's Nagging Panda or some other part of their business. Do you think they say they're too small because they don't know the price and therefore they say, I don't think I could afford it. I'm too small. Or I only do 50 invoices a month. I'll just do it myself. It's too small. What do you think the mindset is?
I've got a very long answer to that
Go for
question.
it.
So I think, Elan, I think it's twofold. And I mean, it's just my opinion, but I think the first one is that what the customers don't realize is you need tech to scale.
Yes.
Everybody wants their businesses to grow. And everybody constantly says, if I had more time, I could grow the business. If I had more time, I could reach more clients, right? If I had more time, I could go to more networking events. So people are always saying that. But the reality is by not implementing that tech, you're not going to be in a position to scale. And I mean, we spent a lot of time during COVID about sort of relooking at our own tech stack, relooking at our own standard operating procedures, making sure that the business is actually scalable. And one of
Yeah.
the first things I did when I started Nimacc was I implemented and I paid for the tech around it.
Right.
It is what it is, because you want to be in a position to be able to scale. And I think secondly, I often wonder, and like I said, it's purely just my own thoughts and opinion, but I often wonder whether, especially in South Africa, whether it's maybe not a mindset thing.
Right.
You often speak to South Africans and small businesses who almost lack that abundance mindset. That they look at other businesses that have grown successfully and they think, yeah, but it's them, it's not me.
Yes.
They can grow. So all these applications are for bigger businesses, but they're not for me. Where I actually turn around and I say to those people, but why not you? Why can you not grow to that same size? Why can you not grow to that same customer base? Because
Yes.
we've got unlimited opportunities actually sitting in Africa. So I think it's twofold. I think it's a little bit of a psychological thing. And I think the second thing is that they're actually not seeing the value of being able to scale their business once that tech is implemented.
Right. And yeah, like you said, it's super fascinating, and I definitely understand where you're coming from on that, and I agree with you. And it leads me to another thought, which is in championing tech and tech stacking and the ability to scale your business, which I'm a big fan of, and I only like to do things that have that ability to scale. Um, where the opportunity that sits forward into, like you say, Africa, I mean, it's almost untouched from this perspective. The businesses that are adoptive of the tech, do you think that they'll have an advantage in an area like that sooner because those areas are still waiting to adopt the tech themselves? What do you think?
I definitely think so. I definitely think so. I really think that we're our own limitations, and
Yes.
the quicker you adopt, the quicker you have more capacity to go out and actually address these markets.
Sure. Now, so speaking of market, when you look at a market, so you've said that when businesses come to you, they're obviously ready to adopt the technology. But is your market, every business is a goal because every business could adopt technology, or is your market quite refined and you target your customer carefully?
That's always a difficult one because every textbook out there, and for me, I read almost a book a week, and every single book out there tells you to define your niche. Whereas with Nimacc, it's really difficult to define our niche because remember, you work with the one-man show who purely just needs a zero startup program. And we've worked with international manufacturing companies, implementing ERPs, writing custom dev. So at the end of the day, we can really speak to every single business owner out there. But it's
Right.
going to be to them to decide whether they're ready for it. Because I've actually walked out of a boardroom because
Okay.
I was contacted us and I got there and then they wanted me to sell this to them. And I was just like, I'm not here to force
Sell them
you.
the tech stack, sell them why they should do it.
Yes. And I literally just went, I'm not here to force you into the 21st century. Like, you've got my number. These are the benefits. The day you're ready, phone me. But I'm not going to sit and do a sales pitch.
I love
Yeah.
that. That's fantastic. Um, I like that. That's passion for what you do. Now, in a case like that, so you obviously then walk into other environments where people are super keen to move forward. And are you just putting the different options in front of them to say, well, if we move you from whatever it is you're currently doing into the right accounting software, into the right CRM, into the right email management tools. Is that sort of how you provide your bouquet of products, or how do you attack that?
So we do a strategy session with the client, and where we basically map out like a high level system blueprint, where we say, in the perfect world, irrespective of what you've got now, what the change management challenges are going to be, in the perfect world, this would be sort of the ideal tech stack. And then from there, we start breaking it down and we say, okay, what is practically actually possible? What is the sort of change management that we are looking at? And I think, Elan, being an accountant really plays in my favor, because I always like to show the clients the maths around it, to
Yes.
say, what is this actually going to do to your bottom line? We did an implementation about a year ago for a group of companies. And after COVID, they went into a bit of a turnaround phase. And when we mapped out the tech stack for them, we actually got to a point where they were saving 200,000 Rand a month bottom line
Wow. Okay.
by just moving off your sort of old robust systems onto the cloud space. And I think at the end of the day, that sells. And being
Yes.
an entrepreneur myself, always I've bootstrapped and built 3 businesses, which are all
Yes.
sold. But you know what it feels like to bootstrap. You know what it
Sure.
feels like with cash constraints. So for me, it's about speaking to that business owner and saying, listen, this is actually the effect it's going to have on your bottom line. It's not just because it's cool and it's shiny. This is the
Yes.
position actually going to put you in. This is your return on investment. And then we actually start speaking to the change management and, how we roll out that project.
Okay. Super interesting. And then obviously, so that means that people watching this who might be fans of Nagging Panda or other potential partners or some of the people in the accounting industry, you could help their businesses as well. So there's a potential for cross pollination here, where the accounting firms that are onboarding onto Nagging Panda could benefit from advice from you in improving their own tech stacks.
100%. So when Nimacc started at the end of 2016, Xero didn't have offices in South Africa at that stage. And what I then did is I actually ran around to different accounting firms, sort of selling consulting services, and getting those accounting firms to move over onto Xero themselves and then start, moving their clients over. So I've been in this space for a long time. And, like I said, coming from the accounting world, we can definitely add a lot of value to the practices themselves in digitizing their businesses, because I really believe that's the starting point. They can only really go out and sell tech to their clients if they are adopting the tech themselves.
Yes, I agree 100%. And that's actually is a part of what we do in inspiring the Nagging Panda partners, is providing Nagging Panda Enterprise for being a partner, so that you can experience it and use it and understand it, and make sure that you know how to explain it very well. But Michelle, it's been really, really wonderful to talk to you and to hear a bit more about Nimacc. I've watched your journey for some time now, and I'm always impressed, and I'm sure that the people you work with are always inspired to continue, and I'm sure become more passionate about technology themselves. So thank you very much, and I wish you the best on your Nimacc journey and with us as a Nagging Panda partner.
Awesome, Elan. I'm looking forward to doing some cool things with you guys.
Thanks. That's fantastic. And to everybody who's watching, thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon.